Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. Hey, if you like the video, click that like button and click subscribe so that you'll get notifications whenever we post new content. Appreciate you watching. This is the Fat Man. I'm gone. Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. Today we're going to do the part 2 of the video on the Wildlife Innovations deer feeder that we're going to put together. I'm going to show you what kind of container that I'm going to use and how we're going to turn that container into the holding bin for our feed that our feeder is going to disperse 2 times a day. So let's get into this and I'll show you what we're going to use and how we're going to set everything up and cut the holes and stuff to mount up the feeder and get this thing going. Be right back. Okay, well here's what I'm going to use for a feeder. It is a plastic barrel that holds 15 gallons of liquid. So that's going to hold about 100 pounds of corn at a time, right at, if you do the math on it, I think it's like 97.8 pounds is what it says 15 gallons will hold. It's made out of pretty sturdy plastic. Where these came from is pretty interesting. It's from a dairy farm. It's not a harsh chemical, it's a detergent chemical that they use to wash the equipment and the teats of the cows that they're going to be milking. So it's not something you got to worry about that can get that anything can get on the feed that you're going to be using that might hurt the wildlife, because it's not. It's all non-toxic. It's something that's used around farm animals that won't hurt them, so everything's going to be all right. What we're going to do is, in the bottom of this, I'm going to drill a hole, or actually what I'll do is I'll probably take a jigsaw and cut it. I don't know if I have a hole saw here the size of what I'm going to need. If I do, I'll do it with a drill. If not, I'll cut it with a jigsaw. And we're going to lay out the center of this, and there's an easy way to do this. Everybody starts trying to wonder, well, how I'm going to find the center point in the bottom of a cylinder, and if you start trying to watch videos on that, people will come up with some of the craziest mathematical stuff for you to do, and use a square and make a mark here and make a mark there. You don't need to do all that. Okay, make one mark, okay, in the side of the cylinder, so you have a start and stop point, okay, and measure all the way around that, okay, and then take that distance, divide it by 2, so that you'll know that you got half of the distance around the cylinder. Now once you go back to the other side, you measure from this point halfway around and make you another mark. Okay, now you've got that done. Now start at either one of these 2 points, measure 1/4 of the way around the barrel, and then do the same thing on the other side. Measure 1/4 of the way around. Then you can mark a line from these 2 points and these 2 points, and where they intersect, that's the exact center of your barrel. Very, very simple. Don't need no kind of crazy mathematics or all that stuff. Easy to do. You can do it in a flash with a pencil and a ruler. It's not a problem whatsoever. So I'm going to get my tools together and show you how I'm going to cut this hole, and we'll get that done and be ready to go on to the next step. Alright, so what we've done, we've got our instructions here on how to put the hole in, where to put the hole in the bottom of the barrel. So what I've got done, I'm going to take a drill bit here and I'm just going to drill a hole in the center of this plastic barrel. Now what I'm going to use to cut the hole out is I'm going to use a reciprocating tool. It's a little noisy, so I probably won't put you through this, but what I've done is I've drilled a hole in this, and then I'm going to mark a line out 3/4 of an inch from the center of that hole in both directions, in all 4 directions rather, so that I know that I'm going to be cutting an 1.5 inch hole. It doesn't have to be exact. I don't have an 1.5 inch hole saw. I have a 2 inch here, and that's a little bit bigger than what I want to do. So I'm going to cut that out now, and I won't put you all through that because it'll be pretty noisy. Once I get the hole cut out, then I'll come back and we'll mount everything to the barrel. Alright, so now we've got our 1.5 inch hole drilled in the bottom of our barrel. Now we're going to attach this funnel. Now this little funnel just sits right on the barrel. Let me move the camera down a little bit so you can see here. This little funnel just sits right on the barrel just like that and screws to it, so that you can use the base of this and adjust the height of your spinner away from this to allow the amount of corn you want to come out. It needs to be somewhere like between 1/2 and 5/8 of an inch. So we'll probably have to tinker with that just a little bit to see what height we need it at to get the best throw for the corn. Alright, now we got us a nut driver that we're going to use to put these screws in with. It's always a good thing to have a variable speed drill when you're doing this kind of stuff so that you don't make a mistake and go too fast and strip or break something. If you don't have one, you can use a screwdriver and just drill the pilot holes like they suggest. What I like to do is get each one of them started. Taking my time, doing two opposite of each other first. Make sure it's lined up good over the hole. Yeah. And then once I get all 4 of them started in there, then I can tighten them down and not worry about stripping something out or busting something. Because with this plastic it'll break pretty easy. Now I'm going to pull it down just a little. Don't take a whole lot. I mean, you're not really holding a bunch of pressure against this thing. That popping is just me putting the nut driver down on the alright. I believe that's got that. You can see in there. Centered over the hole, so we'll get a good corn drop. Now what we got to do is we got to figure out how to put the legs on that are going to mount this box to the bottom of the barrel. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to attach the legs, these 2 legs, to that bottom of the box, and then set the whole unit on there and mark where the holes go, and then we're going to put the screws in to hold these 2 legs on that the box will attach to. So I'll get those all hooked up together, the legs onto the box, and then we'll be right back and show you how we're going to do that. Alright, so now you can see I've got the box assembled and sitting on top of my barrel, and the spinner is setting right down. I got to adjust where the spinner is setting right on the funnel. That way I can get it centered pretty easily on there. It'll pretty much automatically center itself because the spaces in there on that spinner are pretty much lined up right over top of the funnel for the same size. And I'm going to take these gold screws right here that came with it. They're 8mm. And I'm just going to take them in my drill, make again a variable speed drill, and let them thread right down into that plastic. And when I see that they've caught good threads and they're down there, I just want to leave that for just a second, and then I want to line this up to make sure I've got it as close to being in the middle of that funnel as I can get it. Because the closer I get it to the center, the better operation I'm going to get from my feeder. Alright, now that one took thread. Now I'll go ahead and get the other 2 put in and get them tightened up, and we'll be right back. Alright, I've got the controller box now mounted to the barrel completely. It's real good and sturdy, and I hope you can see that. I'm going to raise the camera up just a little. That cone in there is sitting right in the middle of the slinger. This square piece right here that spins, that's the slinger, and this cone, which is right here, this black piece, is what the corn drops down onto that slinger, and you want it to be able to hit that slinger plate and then stop, not just run out of your barrel until it kicks on. And then when it kicks on, you want a good flow, and that way it got a lot of corn coming to that slinger, and it can throw it out about 30 feet, so you get about a 40 or 50 foot diameter that you're going to cover most of the time with these. They advertise a 30 feet radius on the throw, but it's not going to throw it that far, I don't believe. But we'll see. You never know. I mean, they improve these things all the time. We'll go and see what happens. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to lean this barrel up. Lean it up right here. So you can... Now what I want to do, I want to turn this spinner so I can see the distance between the spinner and the funnel that we mounted to the bottom of the barrel. I'm going to loosen up the wing nuts just a little. Need to turn the camera again. Hard to do this stuff and have room to work at the same time, but we'll get it. And then I'm going to ease that up. I'm going to guess that's close to a ½ inch. And you want to try to get it as level as you can as well, so that you don't have one side off center more than the other side tilting down, because then it could possibly cause some sort of a bind up deal and your corn not come out, and you don't want that. You want to be able to fling that corn out there so your critters has got something to eat. Now I want to take a look at this. I'm going to guess that's about a little less than a ½ inch, so I'm still going to push it up a little bit more. It says on the package to put them between a ½ inch and 5/8. I'm going to see where they're at there. Alright, tighten it down. Now, make sure everything's good and secure. Everything is good and tight. Don't have to worry about that. That rattling sound is actually the lid, which we're now going to open up, because now we're going to connect everything together to hook up our battery into the system so that we can power the slinger. Okay, now we got our controller. I'll open it up. It's in the package here. It's got a actual user manual for this. It shows you how to do all the settings and everything. It tells you how to put it in and how to install it, and about all the units and all that. We'll get into that in a few minutes, but right now we're going to install it, and we're going to plug it up and get it ready to start doing what we need it to do. Now this thing is fuse linked, so number one thing you need to do is check and make sure that you got a fuse in there and it's good. I'm not saying that you could get a bad fuse in one of these, but fuses are exactly what they are. They're fuses, and they can blow. It doesn't take a lot to blow one of them. This one does have a fuse in it, and it is good. How you can tell if it's good, if you look through that glass part right there, there's a filament in there, like a little string going from one end to the other. If that filament's broken, then the fuse is no good and you're not going to get any contact. And what that does is, if something happens between the battery and your control box, then that protects your control box from being burned up, and it also protects your motor on your slinger from being burned up. So now what we got here is we got 4 wires. We got a white wire that's solid white, we got a blue wire with a white stripe, we got a black wire, and we got a red wire. I know where the black wire and the red wire is going to go. That's going to go to the battery, I'm sure. But now what we need to do is we need to look in the manual that came with it and read and find out. Identify the blue and white wire extending from the right hand side of the timer unit. Once located, install the wires to the motor terminal. The order of the connection is not critical. The motor will spin either clockwise or counterclockwise based on the terminal connection. So what that means is it just changes the polarity of the motor. If you hook them up one way, it'll spin clockwise. If you hook it up the other way, it'll spin counterclockwise. But it doesn't matter, because the slinger is going to throw the corn either way. It's just spinning one way or the other. So then, knowing that now, that I take those 2 wires, the blue and the white wire, and I hook them up to, take these little female ends and I plug them into the male end sticking up out of the motor. Okay, now it may take you a couple times to get those wires wormed in there so that you make sure they go on those ears that are sticking out. Because if you don't, then the vibration will cause that plug to just fall off. It may work when you first install it if it's between the fitting and that rubber sleeve, but eventually it'll just vibrate off if it's not on there correctly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a battery. We take these little white dudes that's on there to protect it, take those off. You got 2 wires, okay? You got a red wire and you got a black wire. The red wire is going to go to the red side of the battery. Okay, let's plug that on just like that. Then you got a black wire. And then the black wire is going to go to the black or negative side of the battery. Plug those up good together. Now, I personally like laying on their side. I don't like to stand them up. That way there's a lot less chance that you're going to get any kind of contact with the box itself when you go to put it up on your legs and stuff. Now what I do is I take these little white deals and I use them as bumpers, I guess you could say, and I put them on those wires that plug into the battery. There's a couple of little ears that stick up, and maybe that's what they're there for, maybe it's not, I don't know, but I'm going to use these little white bumpers that come with the battery and put them right against that so that I don't have to worry about the battery bottoming out and hitting anything and shorting out. So now we have our controller here. We push the program button and it comes on, so that means we got to set the clock. So now I got to look at my phone and it's 12:42. So I need to get over to the minutes, and I'm going to bring it up to probably 44 by the time I get there. You can just hold it instead of wearing your button out also. I forgot about that. We'll go ahead and put it on 12:44, hit program again. Now we got the clock is ready, and we're going to go and hit the plus button, and that's going to bring us over to the clock first. Then we're going to come over to feed. Alright, so now we're going to program a feed time. It gets daylight here right now about 6:45. So I'm going to leave this one at 7 o'clock, and it's going to ask me for duration in seconds. I'm going to have it shoot 10 seconds. Okay, so I do that one, and you can set the RPMs. Okay, I'm going to set the RPMs to 3/4 speed, medium speed. Now I'm going to hit the plus button, and that's going to be setting my second feeding. Okay, now my second feeding I want to happen, it gets dark here now about 5:30, so I'm going to have it at about 4:30 right now that I'm going to have it to feed. So I'm going to turn this one up to 4:30 p.m. Alright, and I'm going to also put this one to 10 seconds. Okay, and I'm going to set my speed on this one to medium speed. It's got a little icon on there. It looks like a fan with 4 blades on it. You can have, I think you can have 2, 3, or 4. I don't believe you can bring it down to 1. But I'll check that just in case. Let's see if you can. Nope, you got 2, 3, or 4. You can't set it to 1. So I'm going to set mine to 3. Alright, so now I'm going to hit plus again. Feed 3 is off, feed 4 is off, feed 5 is off. You can do this up to 6 times a day. So now we're ready. So now what I want to do is I want to test the spinner and make sure that the spinner is going to work. Okay, I hit the test button one time and it's going to count down, and so that way it'll give you time to get your fingers out of the way. There we go. I know that sounds like that thing makes a lot of noise, but here's the thing. Once deers understand what that noise means, when they hear it, they know to come running, okay? And they're going to come running. So that's got us what we needed. We got 2 feedings set up. That's all I want to do is one right after daylight and one right before dark. And now I'm starting this right after deer season's got over with. So that way if I get them programmed to that, if I could go down and change it through the season as the spring starts back and the warmer weather and the days get longer, and I change them to that, and then in the fall of the year I'll dial it back to where I stay around that 30-45 minute time zone before it gets dark that the feed's going to shoot out, and I get the does programmed to that. Let me adjust this camera now and get those does programmed to that. Then they're going to come in when it's feed time, and that's what we want. We want them to get used to coming there in the daylight. It's great to have deer showing up on your trail cameras at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, except for one issue: you can't shoot them. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you program your feeders and reprogram them. so that you keep up with the sunset times and the legal shooting times, and get them programmed to get coming to your feeder while you still have daylight or right after it gets daylight. So that way they know when they get up from their beds that they got a place they can go to and get a snack before they're going to go lay down. If they've been out all night, or when they get up from their bed, they know a place to go. I know exactly where there's some food at right now, and a lot of times they'll get used to that, and they get to the point of, okay, and I got to get there faster than everybody else. I have literally had deers run into a feeder, especially if there's turkeys in the area, because they wanted to get there before the turkeys did and snatched up all that corn. So that's all we had to do. It's ready to go now. The programmer's all set. All I got to do now is just set the controller in the box, close the box up, latch that lid, but now be careful when you put your finger in there and push that lid down, because it will snap on your finger if you ain't careful. That's all there is to it, guys. Now all I've got to do is I'm going to make me a set of legs and attach to this, and once I get my legs ready and get ready to put them on, I'll come back and show you how I did that.
Well, there's what it looks like after I got the legs on it, and I brought it out here this evening and just dropped one bag of corn in it. That's 50 pounds that's in there, so if the weighing was right at the feed mill, then it's going to hold more than 50. So I'm going to say probably full. That's probably a 15 and a half or 16 gallon container. Let y'all see how it shoots corn out of it. Those legs, I made those legs. A neighbor of mine had some old chain link fence posts, and he gave me 3 of the legs, and I'm still going to have to do some more stuff to the leg system. I don't like it. I'm afraid when I get a full barrel of corn, it may not handle it. So what I'm going to do is build a frame for the barrel itself to actually sit down in. On top of that, that's out of metal that mounts to those metal legs, so there's not much weight on the screws that's going through the barrel. But don't look half bad. And the cool thing about it is, with a decent scope or a pair of binoculars, not even getting close to it, you can tell how much corn you got left. A lot better than them blue barrels.
Hey y'all, appreciate you watching this video. Hope to see you in the next one. This is Fat Man. I'm gone.